Bhagavate Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you very much for joining today. I wanted to seek the blessings of Radha Mata, Radha Shyam Sundar, Krishna Balaram, Gopal, Bonita, Shila Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj, and the assembled devotees. So we continue with chapter 6, the brief summary and also the lessons to learn from this chapter. So this chapter is called Dhyan Yoga, and Krishna talks about the mind from verses 1 to 9. The mind is that voice within, essentially a storehouse of memories and experiences. And this mind offers different options to the individual. An uncontrolled mind that will agitate, misguide, and entangle the soul in this world. So how do we know if a mind is uncontrolled or controlled? Because the soul is higher than the mind, and as is the intelligence. If the mind wants to do something, wants the body, the senses to do something, and it's not necessarily a good act, and it does it, it means the intelligence and the soul are not strong enough to control that mind. So, because it forces us to succumb to our lower nature of lust, anger, and hate. The controlled mind, on the other hand, acts as a friend. The uncontrolled mind acts as an enemy. So this is what Krishna is saying in this part of the chapter. Acts as a friend on our spiritual journey, helping us to make progressive and healthy choices which bring us closer to God. One experience is tranquility, peace, and freedom from duality of happiness and distress. So a controlled mind can really assist us, not just in the spiritual conquest, but also within this material world, to find this, very rare product of tranquility and peacefulness. So what is a lesson to learn from this particular part of the Bhagavad Gita? As Krishna describes to Arjuna in the second chapter, we are not the body. So some people may think that we are the mind. However, here Krishna informs us that we are not the mind, as it can be the friend or the enemy of the soul. Indeed, we can observe the mind. But because people always do what the mind dictates, the soul does not come into the picture. So this is interesting. If we always submitting to the mind, then we're not even aware of the soul, because the mind is the only thing which is in the picture. As soon as we try to control the mind, mainly through meditation, we will see how the mind reacts. It reacts quite aggressively, especially the uncontrolled mind. And it will say, the mind will try to convince us, no, we got other things to do. Why are you sitting meditating? There's so many things to do today. What are you doing wasting your time? Now that only comes into the picture when we try to control the mind. If we don't try to control the mind, there's no problem. But the mind will take us and it will succumb us to our lower nature of lust, anger, and greed. This is the problem. So the lesson to learn is we should observe this mind, observe it. We'll see the mind often, especially when we're chanting, go observe the mind and bring the mind back to the chant. We'll come to that again. So now, summary of 10 to 32 on Dhyan Yoga. One way to control the mind is through the process of Astanga Yoga. This chapter is a lot of it. Krishna describes Astanga Yoga, this part of it especially. which includes Dhyan Yoga, the practice of meditation. Krishna explains, so this process of Sangha Yoga, live in seclusion, practice celibacy, under strict regulations of eating and sleeping, sit in a perfectly erect position, focusing the consciousness on the supreme. It's usually the Paramatma within us. Meditate in this way for many years, maintaining silence. So this is where Arjun said to Krishna, oh, too hard. Because he wanted to stop fighting to go to the forest. Krishna thought, okay, you want to go to the forest? You want to become a yogi? This is what you need to do. And Arjun immediately reacted, no, can't do it. It's easier for me to control the wind than it is to control the mind. So, lesson from this, because he makes that comment. So Krishna also guides him how to control the mind. Control the mind through practice and detachment. The science described by Krishna is difficult to practice in its entirety in this age of Kali Yuga. And this is what Krishna wanted Arjun to understand. He wanted to show Arjun that he cannot become a sannyasi in the forest. His nature will not allow him. He was a Kshatriya, he was a fighter. That was his nature, that was his mood. How can that be a sannyasi? And there's one particular text to learn from in this part of the Gita, number 16. Don't eat too much, don't eat too little, don't sleep too much, don't sleep too little. So we have to find that balance. If we sleep too much, that's indicative of mode of ignorance. If we eat too much, that's indicative of mode of passion. So we try. The guideline is between 6 and 7 hours every day is enough sleep. If we eat too much, we'll be sleeping a lot. If we eat too little, we won't be sleeping at all. So 6 to 7 hours. And how much to eat? The guidelines is given in the Ayurveda. Half the belly should be filled with water, half the belly with food, half the belly with water, and half with air. We have to give enough air, leave enough space in the stomach for air to circulate, for Krishna to do his work, because he tells us in the 15th chapter what he does to digest our food. So we have to give him that opportunity to help to digest this food that we eat. So try not to eat too much, eat too little, sleep too much, or sleep too little. That's a very good place to start. Summary of the next part of the Gita, chapter 6 again, the third aspect of chapter 6, 37 to 45. Arjun asks on our behalf, what happens? Because he's heard from Krishna the process of yoga, and it's hard. So he says to Krishna, what happens if one faithfully takes to this yogic process, but later falls away without perfecting his spiritual consciousness? The unsuccessful spiritualist is seemingly left in no man's land, having failed to attain the spiritual satisfaction and simultaneously squandered his opportunity for worldly pleasure. So he's in neither world. He's not in the spiritual world because he's failed, and he's not in the material world because he went towards the spiritual world. So he's in neither world. Arjuna was a little worried. Krishna appeases all such fears by explaining that whoever takes a genuine spiritual process is eternally benefited, even if they don't perfect it. So this is the beauty of Krishna. We may fail in our quest for spiritual enlightenment. We may fail. This Maya is strong. We should never underestimate Maya. So we may fail. But what Krishna is saying, even if you fail, Don't worry, you made a start. I will not abandon you. You made the start. Why should I abandon you? Next life, I will give you another opportunity and you can continue your practice of spiritual consciousness. Don't worry. He appeases all such fears by explaining that whoever takes a genuine spiritual process is eternally benefited, even if they don't perfect it. If we don't complete it in one lifetime, we carry on in the next life from the same point, and the individual thus evolves towards spiritual perfection. This is really very encouraging. And the lesson is, when we take shelter of Krishna and perform bhakti, it is never lost. The Lord magnifies our contribution. He will not look at the bad qualities, only the good. This is only God can do this, and the spiritual master. For example, with Putana, she tried to poison him with her breast milk, but he accepted that breast milk as an offering from Putana, and he promoted her to nurse in the spiritual world. Agasur, the snake, wanted to kill Krishna. But when Agasur saw the cowherd boy so joyfully playing, he wondered for 1 minute, wow, what it's like to be with Krishna. And just that one thought was enough. Krishna promoted him to the spiritual world as well. And Shishupal threw insult after insult to Krishna. But Krishna didn't accept any of those as insult. He accepted as compliments. This is only God can do this. He will look at our bad qualities. He will not look at our bad qualities. He will look at our good qualities. Even one good quality, he will see. Ignore the 99 other horrible ones. This is only God can do that. And then this is the final part of chapter 6, 46 to 47. After summarizing the arduous process of dhyan meditation in Astanga. Astanga basically means the bodily aspect of the yoga. Sitting upright, looking, half-closed eye, looking at the tip of the nose. The chapter concludes with a ray of hope for us. Krishna reaffirms that the perfection and goal of all yoga systems is to help the individual become fully conscious of God at all times. Nowadays, we see the mass practice of yoga, but God is not even in the picture. It's just a bodily exercise, or perhaps a mental exercise, or a breathing exercise. That's it. But yoga means to connect with God. That's the whole point of yoga. That's what it means. So if God is not in the picture, it's just a exercise. It's not yoga. We may call it yoga. But when we include God into the yoga practice, then it's genuine, it's bona fide. While all yoga systems are certainly beneficial, the easiest, most beneficial and essential path is known as bhakti yoga. So the other yoga systems are karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, stanga yoga, so many different yogas. But the one that is the best, which includes all other yoga systems, just like the 50-pound note includes the 5-pound note, the 10-pound note, 20-pound note. So bhakti yoga includes every other yoga process because it's all-encompassing. So in the age of Kali Yuga, we are very lucky. We have easy access to it. We are very, very lucky. Make the most of it. Make the most of it. So summary of these 4 lessons. Observe that we are not the mind, not eat too much, not eat too little, not sleep too much, not sleep too little. Try to practice controlling the mind with chanting. And the Lord magnifies our contributions, never sees our backs. And easy to practice how to do to us. Just check that without sleeping. Yeah, sorry, I did miss something. Basically, there's 5 lessons here. So the third one I missed. And the third one is where Arjuna is saying to Krishna, this mind is too strong. I can't control it. So Krishna then says, okay, you can control it by practice and by detachment. Here it is. It says it in text number 35. Krishna said, "O mighty armed son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible with suitable practice and detachment." So when the lesson there is when we chant Mahamantra, it's a test of how controlled our mind is. If we can focus on the sound of the holy names throughout the chanting, our mind is our best friend. If not, we have an uncontrolled mind, which may be our worst enemy. So at the end, we'll do one round and we can see how controlled the mind is. So that's chapter 6. Chapter 7. So, summary of chapter 7. It's entitled Knowledge of the Absolute. So this is the beginning of Bhakti Yoga because Krishna is describing himself. As soon as you bring God into the center of the yoga system, it becomes Bhakti. That's one way to look at it. Krishna wants us to know him. So the summary of these 3 verses, first 3 verses in this chapter. Although it is so difficult that hardly anyone knows Krishna, Krishna wants us to know him. It's very, very hard. But he wants us to know him. Through the practice of Bhakti Yoga, the Lord says we can indeed know him in full, simply by hearing about him. This is the beauty of God. Just by listening about God, we can get to know him. So we can engage in these 9 processes of Bhakti Yoga. And that will take us closer to Krishna. And the first is hearing. The others are chanting, remembering, serving, being a friend, like that. Serving his lotus feet, surrendering unto him, like that. But hearing is very, very important. Okay. So the second theme is knowledge of the Absolute. In answer to the common challenge, can you show me God? I won't believe that God exists unless you can show me. Let him appear in front of me and I can see him and I believe him. So Krishna cites the analogy of pearls strung on a thread. The pearls are perfectly strung, arranged as a necklace, while the thread remains completely invisible. He is like the thread. We can never see God because we don't have the eyes. But we can feel his presence everywhere. Just like the pearls are beautifully strung. They are completely in order. We don't know how they're in order, but there's a thread that the pearls have been put into, and that's why they're in order. So in the same way, we don't see how wonderful this universe is organized. We can't understand it, but it is there. The organization is there. And that thread is God, or his energies at least. Similarly, God designs, creates, sustains the entire universe. Yet, because of his humility, he remains invisible to the immature observer. The extreme intricacies and sophistication of creation, however, naturally indicates the presence of higher intelligence. The order is so spectacular in this world. I mean, even if we just have a look at our body, it's such a complex machine, extraordinarily complex. And scientists will have us believe that it just came about by some chance. Nobody created this machine. So if I'm working at a computer now, is it that this computer, somebody just threw up some things in the air or made an explosion and suddenly this computer came into existence? Not possible, right? And no sane man will agree to that proposal. Somebody actually designed it, built it, sold it to me, or gave it to me. So If we believe that about ordinary things, what about a universe? Such fantastic order. What about this body? Such a fantastic machine. Is it just come about by some chance? Two cells get together and suddenly we got this fantastic body. I don't think so. Krishna further explains in this chapter, in these verses, 9 verses, further explains how he is the essence of everything within the creation, the taste of water, the light of the sun, and the ability in man. In this way, through the eyes of knowledge, one can learn to see God everywhere. So one practice that we can put into daily use is we drink water. Right? Everybody drinks water. And when we drink, we can say this mantra, Raso aham apsu kauntaya. Krishna says, Raso means taste, aham, I, apsu, in water. I am the taste in water. So when we drink, we can remember Krishna. Raso aham apsu kauntaya. I am the taste in water. That way, we will be reminded of Krishna doing ordinary activities. Very nice practice to engage in, because water, it can be, we don't give it any importance, but water is a very important ingredient. About 70 or 80% of our body is made up of water. If we don't drink water for a couple of days, we will struggle, because water is so important, but we give it hardly any thought. Krishna says, I am the taste in water. So when we remember, when we're drinking water, remember Krishna. He becomes happy and we also connect him. Verses 13 to 19. If God can be perceived everywhere and his existence is so strikingly obvious, why is there still wholesale denial of it? Why do so many people deny the existence of God? Perhaps they're atheistic. Well, we are given free will. Krishna endows each individual with the free will to fly their own plane. We can decide, believe or not. He won't force us. In fact, he describes in this part of the chapter 4 types of people who reject God because of their preoccupation in worldly life. The grossly foolish, lowest of mankind, illusioned and atheistic. But he also describes the 4 types of people who accept God with varying degrees of selfishness. Some seeking wealth. They don't have any money. They asking God, please, give me some wealth. Those who are distressed, have some difficulties and challenges in their lives. They're approaching God, my dear Lord, please. Those who are inquisitive, they read about everything, and one of the subjects they read about is God. And then there's the one who is looking for God. He knows there's something more than this world. And he's looking, seeker of the truth, seeker of knowledge. It is a rare soul in this world who is able to approach God free of ulterior motives and enter into a selfless relationship of love. That level of spiritual purity, Krishna says, may take thousands of years, thousands of births. So we don't want anything from God. We want to serve him. This is one of the most important things to learn. We want to serve you, my dear Lord. You're already giving us everything. I'm not going to ask for anything now. I just want to serve you. Human life is, so the lesson, human life is so rare, very rare to achieve. And even rarer is one who is surrendered to the Lord. So let's be very grateful that the Lord has allowed us to perform bhakti and make most of our great fortune. So we must treasure this bhakti, protect this great fortune, avoid committing aparad or offenses, especially the mad or elephant offense of blaspheming devotees. This is to protect our bhakti like a beach. Very nice that we try to be kind to everybody. don't need to be aggressive, don't need to be nasty. This human life is very rare. We're very lucky. And you know, Krishna, he talks about these four types of people, he calls them udharan. He calls them magnanimous, great souls. Even they want something from him. They want wealth or something from him. He still calls them great souls because they're approaching him. So even if somebody has a motive to approach God, I want something from you, God, my Lord. Still approach the Lord. Approach the Lord. Because at least we have approached him, Krishna. He becomes happy. The best situation I have is to not want anything from God. And then Krishna establishes, oh yes, this is a little complex now. 20 to 30. This, Krishna explains his nature. He establishes monotheism, one God. In Hinduism, there's this huge misunderstanding that there are many gods. He distinguishes the demigods, devatas, as powerful entities in charge of universal affairs who are in no way, shape, or form equal to God. The demigods help God to run the universe, but they're not God. And I think after we finish this Bhagavad Gita session, we will have a look at all these demigods. We've done it once, and I hope devotees don't mind. I will do it again, so we can understand who these demigods are and what is their function, purpose in life. Okay, so let's go into what is Sanatana Dharma. It's not easy, but this is a complete picture. It's multifaceted, and system of worship can be regarded as multi-layered, polymorphic by monotheism. And this is complex, okay? But this gives an idea of exactly what Sanatana Dharma is. So just bear with me. Multi-layered means there are devatas who can be worshipped for temporary gains. But this is not recommended by Krishna. So multi-layered means there are different levels of spirituality that one can strive for. So in this material world, we can approach the demigods, and generally it will be for wealth. It's not recommended, because what the demigods can give is temporary and it's limited. But it is multi-layered. It is there. That facility is available to Sanatanists. It's polymorphic. Polymorphic means God, although one, has many expansions, like Vishnu, Ram, Nasing, Vaman, Pashuram. So many expansions. Millions and billions and trillions of expansions. That means polymorphic, one God, but many expansions. By monotheism, God as a divine couple is one God, but there's two of them. Radha Krishna, Sitaram, Lakshmi Narayan. That one supreme soul manifests in two forms by monotheism. This is not compulsory to learn or understand, but this gives an idea of Sanatana Dharma, full picture, which is very powerful. So our lesson 31, our worship is exclusively meant for Krishna or his expansions, the Vishnu avatars. The demigods, devatas, are his servants whom we must respect, but not worship. Our worship is exclusive to Radha Krishna, Sitaram, Lakshmi Narayan, but not the devatas. For them, we have respect because they are devotees of God. They're serving God in a wonderful capacity to maintain this universe. So, quick summary. Yes, Bhagavad.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, and all the devotees. You said about this demigods and Vishnu avatars, and we don't have to worship the demigods only. Yeah. What about keeping too many? Not too many. I mean, yeah. Well, so many devotees photos and devotees in the temple, and we worship them all. So
Yeah.
is it worth it or is it not worth it? Because we bow them, we do bow all of them.
Well, we have to respect we give. Correct. But if we have to be careful. If like we organize our temple where Krishna is at the top, then come the demigods, and then come the gurus, like that. So our worship is exclusively for Krishna, but our bowing down is to everybody.
Bowing is, and what's the difference between Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh and
Yes,
Krishna?
very good question. And again, we will cover this while we do the task. But in summary, Vishnu is the supreme because he's an expansion of Krishna. Brahma is like us, you and me. But Krishna has given that soul power to create the universe. So he's not God, he's just like us, but very powerful.
Very powerful.
Shiva is very unique. When Krishna wants to touch this world, he becomes Shiva. And I'll give you an example. In order to make paneer, you have to have milk. You boil the milk and you add some lemon juice, it becomes paneer. In the same way, Krishna, when he wants to be in this material world, to be involved in this material world, he becomes Shiva. So milk, add lemon, paneer. Krishna, add material world, becomes Shiva. So in one way, Shiva and Krishna are the same.
Okay, thank you.
But at the same time, milk can be turned into yogurt, but yogurt can never be turned into milk.
No.
So it's Krishna is the supreme. It's one and the same as Shiva, but there's a difference at the same time.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Good question.
Thank you very much.
Madhuben, yes. You might be muted, Madhuben.
Jai Shri Krishna, Prabhuji. Just I wanted to, I got so many things in my mind. Sometimes I become confused.
Okay.
Since I was a baby, my mother always teach me to pray Jala Bapa. You know Jalaram, yeah?
Jalaram Bapa, yes.
Yeah. And since that time, I never forget Jalaram Bapa.
Good.
Anytime I remember anything nice thing I do, or anything I just want to wish, or anything I want to, anybody I want to pray, first always Jala Bapa comes in my mind.
Good.
Yeah. So what my question is that, do I have to worship Krishna? Do I have to worship Jala Bapa? or I, and some people, you know, my in my family, proper Vaishnav family, right? So you know, typical Vaishnav family. Yeah, this I can say. But my elders, mother-in-law, and they all, when they live, they always tell me, you have to worship Krishna. You have to do for everything for Krishna. I'm always confused. Since now I'm confused because I think Jala Bapa hold my hand when I was baby. And he teach me so many things in my life. In these days, if anybody asks me, who is your guru? Then I say, now, you know, when I grown up and I was thinking more about this religious and our Sanatana Dharma. And now I got it that there is some guru. So I just thought Jalaram Bappa is my guru. Now I am
Yeah,
coming.
you got it. You got it. Very good. He's your guru. Correct.
And now when I change my something in my mind, I change some thinking or some worship things or whatever. And I always think at least when I go to bed, I think, oh, this must be Jalabapa directing me to go this side.
Very good. He's guru, he's bhakta, he's a great devotee of God. But he's not God. He's not God. He will guide us to God. So you worship Jalaram Bappa, yes, as devotee, and beg him, my dear Jalaram Bappa, please guide me.
Guide me. Yeah, that's
very good.
I'm so confused about the.
No, don't be confused.
But I'm in the right path. Anyway, I write
the right path.
Okay,
and yes, and Jalaram Bappa was a great devotee of Ram.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Then when I think more and more and more, I got answer automatically in my mind.
Very good. That's Jalaram Bappa giving you guidance.
Yeah, but sometimes I think, oh, I better discuss with some person, and I get some other things, and it's might help me more. That's why I'm discussing now with you, because of when we go in Katha, when we listen anybody, if you ask them question, they never answer. They don't have time to.
They don't have time. No time.
Yeah. That's the main problem. And that's why I give up to go in Katha. I'm just honest with you. And I think whatever I want, I couldn't get it. So what's the point going there? Sometimes, it's make me disappointed. Yeah,
I know what you mean. Because I went to a Katha the other day, and the lady spoke for 2 hours. One man put his hand up, asked a question. She said, no, we will ask a question at the end. But at the end, they leave no time. No time is left.
Yeah, that's my always experience.
So I went to that man and I said, what was your question? Because she didn't give an opportunity. And he asked a question. I gave him an answer from my point of view. He was happy. But we have to address, if we don't give opportunity for others to participate, what's the point? We're just speaking.
That's my always, it's make, now I just give up. And when Prabha said, I'm attending this class, and so I just better going there. And anyway, I just, at least I can discuss somebody who know more than me, Yes. That's my main point to come with you here. And I try my best to join, but sometimes I couldn't because of family. And but anyway, I'm enjoying this thing. It's the main thing.
And you can ask any question. Don't be shy.
Okay, thank you.
Sometimes, but
yeah,
don't be shy.
And second thing, yes, you sent me yesterday link, and I just read myself anyway, all up to end Sudhi. And there is end. You said something about Dhritarashtra, then Sanjay. And Krishna and Arjun. But what I couldn't understand in the last. What's Guru and relation?
See, Krishna in Bhagavad Gita 3 times it is discussed about how we should approach a guru, which you're already doing. You're already approaching Jalaram Bappa. Very important we can't directly go to Krishna. We have to go through the medium of the guru.
Yeah. Okay.
That is what Krishna
Thank
also.
You. Yeah, thanks. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much. I love your participation. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Okay, anything else? Naniben, anything you'd like to ask or say?
No, it's all okay, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Srimad Bhagavad Gita.